So I said that these forms are classes. Form 1, you're actually creating an instance of the form, as we saw in the program.cs. So that instance is being created and it's being launched. Now, this whole thing really isn't smoke and mirrors. It's not as fancy as it seems. Because all of this that we're doing here with a mouse click is being recorded in form1.designer.cs. So remember before when I talked about those things being saved as fields or being added as fields to this class? This is our class form1. Down here at the bottom we have private system.windows.forms.button btn go, private system windows forms text box txt value, and private system windows forms.label lbl output. Those three controls are simply fields, variables within form 1. Then this little gray box that says Windows Form Designer generated code, that's all the code that actually gets saved and generated. And if you did it in Java, it's that XY coordinate, and this is the actual value for the text, and this is this, and this is that. We can expand these, what are called regions, and actually see all of that happening. So this initialize component method is an overload. Actually, no, this isn't an overload. There's an overload above. This gets called. And we're saying this .btngo equals a new button, .txt value equals a new text box, LBL output equals a new label. So it's creating instances of these controls, of these classes. Suspend layout stops it from drawing. Then it goes through each control and does the setup. Starts with the button location. Stores it as a point, XY coordinate. Then we have the name, the size, tab index, text, and then using visual style back color. That's just a property that it sets by default for the buttons. TXT value sets the location, name, size, and tab index, label, same type of thing. So every time you modify a property in that properties dialog, that gets translated into one of these lines of code. So if you think about it for a minute, what is Visual Studio actually doing? When you click on that button and it brings up that properties dialog, it's actually going through this file, probably just about every other file in your project, looking for references to that button, and then finding modifications that have been made to those properties, and then representing them inside of that properties dialog in close to real time.
So if you change something here and then you go back to the properties, it would be changed there?
Correct. You want to see it? I'll even add one. Save. Flip back to the designer. There it is. Didn't even have to touch it. It's already in the box. If you want, I can even do this thing. 2 space. I just changed focus. Oh, I forgot to put a space. Don't even have to save it. If I click here, come down here, say 3, change focus. So they're the same thing, back and forth. The designer is simply there to help you do the work. All right, who here took the HTML course? All right, did you hand code everything, or did they have you use some sort of designer? Hand coded? Okay, that's fine, I just wondered. If you use a tool like Dreamweaver, you get the same type of experience. You go in, it looks like a Word doc, you do everything you want, drag and drop and everything else, but it's just writing HTML for you. This is the same type of experience. The difference is that this is actually grabbing all of this C# code, going through an interpreter, pseudo-compiling it, doing a build process, and then it's interpreting what's happening during that build process and generating a visual representation. And remember, somebody just wrote code to make it do that. So you think about these apps that we're building, think about the complexity of an app like that. All right. So just so you're aware, that exists. It's not magic. It's not something secret. You have a question?
Yeah, wouldn't it be more beneficial to do everything in code though? Like just part of like the learning process?
If you really want to. I mean, there's not a problem with doing it in code. To be perfectly honest, my opinion is this is monotonous. You're not going to gain that much aside from practicing how to do properties equal value semicolon.
Okay.
Now, if you're trying to do something very complex, you'll probably gain value out of doing that. It's probably good to review what's there. But unless you're doing some sort of major UI, I don't know, like you're making a button fly around on the form, I don't know if it's really worth that effort. When we get into interfacing with events and doing things like that, you have plenty of opportunity to learn the other properties and manipulations of the controls.